the studio with me, I have the acting fire chief, Rommel Williams. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back to hear from him and what's on the agenda for this morning. Don't touch that dial, man. It's the morning show.
Love is in the air, and ZIZ can put the spotlight on your sales offers this Valentine's Day. If you're a business looking to turn hearts into customers, ZIZ Broadcasting Corporation has the perfect match for you. From February 1st to 14th, connect with Valentine's Day shoppers through radio and television advertising, live on-air appearances, and social media promotions. Don't let this Valentine's Day pass you by. Make ZIZ your advertising partner and let love drive your sales. Call our sales department at 465-2621 for more information.
Funerals are expensive. They can put financial strain on relationships and even put families in debt for a long time. At Nagico, we offer the Nagico Serenity Plan, which allows you to make decisions about your final send-off, cover your funeral costs, and can go towards your final affairs like outstanding loans. Contact Nagico today for a free quote so that your goodbye can be done with dignity. Nagico Insurances, fast, fair, and always there.
Get ready to ignite your mornings with Fire Talk. Tune in every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM for 15 minutes of blazing hot conversations featuring Rommel Williams and Timothy Martin. They'll be discussing the latest fire updates, trends, and topics that matter to you. Don't miss out on the heat. Fire Talk every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM.
All right, welcome to Fire Talk. Let me say good morning to Acting Chief Rommel Williams. Let's make sure his mic is working. Good morning.
Morning, GQ.
Good morning. Welcome to the studio as usual.
Yeah.
All right, so what's on our table for discussion this morning?
Yes, so good morning again, and good morning to the listening audience. So our last show, last Tuesday before last, we would have presented some statistics, and we promised that we would have tried and bring the comparisons from 2024. We did some work, and we did get some numbers, but I don't think that we were able to collate all of the information to be able to make the most accurate comparison.
Right.
So, based on what we have gathered, there seems to be as if we would have seen some increases in 2025 compared to 2024.
Right.
Though the increases are not huge increases, their increases are nonetheless. And so, for 2025, we would have responded to like about 300 calls. For 2025, 2024, we would have responded to somewhere between 180 to 200 based on what the information that we have on the database, give or take 10. And so we continue to do our best to ensure that the numbers continue to decline, and to ensure that we do everything in our power to sensitize the general public as to the do's and don'ts when it comes to fires and fire-related activities. So that is basically what I have to present on the statistics. Going forward, as we bring all the numbers together, we will always update you accordingly so that you are always aware of what is happening in the Federation as it relates to fires. Sometimes we may think that information is not important, but when you have an idea of the amount of responses that we make annually, then you get a good idea of the resources that is utilized to respond to these fires. So when you hear that the fire truck is down, you understand, because I have to respond to sometimes maybe one station, 133 calls for Bassi alone. That truck has to be under high speed 133 times. That's a lot of wear and tear on that vehicle, a lot of wear and tear on the human resource. And so once we know the figures, we got a great appreciation for what is happening at the fire department. So persons will no longer feel that we are just there. It's impossible for us to just be playing dominoes. It can't happen. Having to respond to 300 something calls annually. So that's where
So
we are.
you're saying you're still being overshadowed by that mindset that you guys just play dominoes, yeah, or that has changed over the years?
I'll be honest. Over the years, it has changed. Some persons use it as a humor, to say, "Well, you always do," but eventually they come back and say, "Man, I know you already do more." But there are still some persons who really feel that while they don't use domino anymore, because domino is not the most dominant thing right now. Back in the day, domino was it. They find other things. You guys, all you do is play games, all you do is this, all you do is that. But it's not so prevalent anymore.
Right.
I think persons are actually trying now appreciating what fire department stands for and why we are here.
Right.
We are seeing a great appreciation for that. So it means that we are doing something.
Now that you mentioned that, I was thinking about how we can make the statistics interesting for our listeners. Each number has a story. You ever thought about it that way?
Maybe, but they do have numbers. They do have a story. Yes, you're so correct. They do have stories. So maybe that would be a good way to look at the statistics rather than just seeing numbers. So that's definitely something that we could venture into.
Yeah.
Because they do have numbers. They do have, I keep saying numbers.
Stories.
They do have a story.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah. It just crossed my mind because, while we appreciate the numbers and we could do the comparison of then versus now, hearing the story behind the numbers, I believe would be a little bit more interesting. So while I know you're prepared to share the numbers, if you can, anything jump out at you from any particular time, you can share. I'm just trying that out there.
Well, like you said, JK, all of the numbers, they have a story. For Bastia in particular, the number 15 represents 15 structural fires, 15 house fires that we responded to in 2025. 15
last year?
Yeah, 15. So it may I don't know how it is seen, whether it's 15 sounds a lot in relation to the size of the population and residences. But for fire department, 15 is too much. 15 is too much. It means that there is a higher risk of loss of life for both residents and the responding agencies. There is 15 represents now an additional strain on the assisting agencies who has to assist persons who might not be able to restore everything that they had and would have to seek assistance maybe from social services. That's 15 additional strain on our resources.
I must be honest, I am not aware of that 15. Yeah, I must be honest. Even though I work in the media, were there major fires?
They were not all major. Some of them were abandoned. Some of them were occupied, but persons were not there at the time. Some of them were actual dwelling homes. The persons lost a lot of what they would have worked for. I think though the largest one, as mentioned last time we were here, would have been the one right there in the gut. From my recollection, I believe that would have been the largest one we would have had to respond to. And while it was abandoned, if we realize that Bastia, the houses are very close, very, very close. So that could have gone horribly wrong if it had not been dealt with properly and effectively and in a speedy manner. I always like to refer to 1867. That year has been imprinted in my mind. So whenever I think about a huge fire, it always takes me back to 1867. And one of the reasons why 1867 happened is because of the way the houses were constructed close, very close, and they still have it existing. While our fire response and fire suppression systems are more advanced, it doesn't mean that 1867 can't happen again, where the entire Bastille was burnt down. So a lot of things contributed to that. High winds, the fire department not being in a position to deal with anything of that size. So things would have advanced a whole lot since that, but it is still possible. And so now, because of the advancement in firefighting and all the fire suppression systems and what's not, it is a lot easier to deal with, but it is not impossible. It's not impossible.
Now, I know you're not prepared for this question I'm going to ask. In 2024, off the top of your head, can you remember how many structure homes fire you had? Is it the same or was it less?
That 15 I gave you was only Bastille alone. Bastille district alone. That had nothing to do with the other 3 districts. So 15 was only this district. There you have Sandy Point with 1, and you have Tabernacle with 6. So that's 15 plus 7.
Structured homes.
Right? So in 2024, we had 7 for Bastille, 5 for Sandy Point, 7 for Tabernacle, and 10 for Charlestown, Nevis. 10.
In those 2 years, Tabernacle seemed to be a hot spot. What's happening over there? You haven't done any investigation?
Tabernacle, most of it were abandoned homes. With these abandoned homes, sometimes you find persons who might have mental issues occupying these abandoned houses. And so, they cause fires, and we have to respond to these fires. But nothing major. Small abandoned houses and so forth. But we've not had to respond to anything that major for a while in Sandy Point, in Tabernacle, sorry.
Apart from those 2 years?
Apart from those 2 years, yeah.
Were the incidents similar in terms of the nature of the cause of fire?
In most cases, the abandoned ones, they're either lit by, as I mentioned, they're either lit by persons with mental issues or for some other malicious reason, maybe willfully done or whatever the case is. But basically the same thing. Yeah.
While we're talking fire, I'm thinking the fire can also highlight aspects of other underlying factors in the society or the community. And in looking at these fires and doing these investigations, for example, you just made mention of individuals with mental issues. Has anything been done to locate those individuals and get them off the street? Do you know?
Well, I from my standpoint, I can't say yes and I can't say no. I will say that at this point, I don't know. We check the streets on a daily basis, and we see persons all over on a regular with mental issues. And to me, this is just my opinion. To me, it seems to be on the rise, and more so in our young men. In relation to fires, I don't know if anything 'cause from my side, we did not make any appeal for those persons to be taken for medication or whatever the case is. So that's from the fire side, but from the society side, I drive the streets of Bastille and I just see these guys just popping up here and there, and we don't know who is starting these fires. We don't know which one. I don't know. But we have never made that appeal from fire department side.
How can you determine what caused a fire?
Well, there's cause and determination. There's a lot of things to consider in the cause and determination. Burn patterns, whether the structure was occupied at the time of the fire. So that would eliminate whether it was caused by human intervention or whether it was another source, maybe electrical, whatever the case is. So looking at a fire, while the fire is burning, you would not be able to tell the cause. After it is done, you would have to have a special type of training, because there are some fires where you really can't look at that fire and determine the cause. You need special equipment. You need equipment to detect whether accelerant was used, whether it was maliciously done, whether it was. For one case in particular, we had an incident up at
Doers?
No, not Doers. Doers is Buckley's area. Gillards. That area just outside of the airport, I think. That's Gillards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there was a fire. There was a structural fire, and it was easy to tell where the fire started, the origin, where it started, and it was obvious that it started in two different places based on the burn patterns. You could look at the walls, you could look at the roof. Where on the roof is most damaged. Look at the walls and you'll see burn patterns. Which part of the wall is mostly damaged by heat and those kind of things. So we did the investigation and we looked and we found certain items. And that could only be done because you are trained and you have an eye for it. And you have certain items, but the item wasn't even in the house. The item was in some bushes. So that led to a next, and this led to that, and then everything just connected. And it was easy to see that the fire was maliciously set. So it is not always easy to determine a cause. Sometimes we have to rule it as unknown because we really can't find the root of the cause. So a lot of times we have to rule it out as unknown. But one of the things we are doing at the fire department, or what we intend to do this year, is to get more fire officers trained to come to a conclusion as to what caused the fire. We don't want to be having to say unknown, because every fire has a cause.
Why is that so important? Why is getting the correct information after investigation is so important?
Once you have the information, you basically know how to move forward in terms of whether you need to get the police involved. A lot of it has to do, it affects or has an effect on insurance. The insurance, they like to know what caused fires. And so that may affect the payout. For fire department now, it enables us to know what to look for trends. For instance, if I go to two fires and I realize that two of them were set identically, then that caused me to think, well, maybe there is someone who is intentionally starting these fires and they're not just random fires. If you respond to them and you don't know what to look for, you don't know what the cause is, you just rule it as unknown and you figure that they are two isolated incidents. But the evidence proved that they were connected. And so it allows you to look at these fires differently now. And again, whether you need to get police involved because you figure it might be a criminal activity. But if you can't tell, then you don't involve the police. And so it just goes unnoticed. So it is very, very, again, it's very important to know the cause, not just for firefighting purposes, but for insurance purposes and even for on the police side of it. Yeah.
Forgive me. I know you came with numbers, but I want to make
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, good. At the end of the day, I was under the impression that structural fires in our society is a thing of the past. So hearing 15 and 7 and these numbers has me curious now.
Mm-hmm.
For you, have you seen a decrease over the past 10 years, or has it been fluctuating back and forth?
I would say that there has been a decrease, even though maybe 1 or 2 years you may see a fluctuation, but the decrease over the past 10 years, I've been there for 25 years. So over the past 10 years, we've seen decrease. There was a time where we just used to have fires. And I believe it's because persons are now more responsible.
Mm-hmm.
They are now doing more to prevent these fires. They are now putting more mechanisms in place to ensure that their property is secured.
Mm-hmm.
I know these business places around town, they are now taking, putting greater prevention measures in place to secure their businesses. And I believe that might be attributed to the fact that insurance too is now step. Because just this morning I got a request for a fire report because insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So the insurance companies too are now very much interested in knowing about these structural fires. No longer you could just go to an insurance company and say you had a fire, and no. You have to come to fire department. Fire department has to verify that you had a fire. Fire department, insurance want the cause of the fire. And again, it goes back to us. We should be able to tell the insurance company what caused the fire.
One, because you're a reliable source.
Exactly. And they expect you, as the fire department, to know what caused a fire.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is connected. Everything is connected. But yes, we have seen a decrease. We have seen some decreases over the years.
Have you ever thought about targeted promotions or public service announcements in targeted areas? For example, from listening to the statistics that you just shared a while ago, tabernacles seem to be an area of concern.
Yeah, it is. While we have not gone into a specific area, we usually hope that persons are listening to these shows when we talk, and we use these shows as the platform to sensitize these persons, because we always share the hot spots. We could easily tell you, back in the day, Kim Collins Highway was a hot spot. Kayan was a hot spot. New Guinea, in the area of the boatyard, was a hot spot. So it was easy to say we know, because we know these areas. So our focus was on these areas. And again, while we were not out in those specific areas doing any public service announcement to persons in those areas, again, we were hoping that these shows would be used and enough persons are listening to hear when we speak. But those areas, we don't really get so much fires in those areas, no? And I guess it's because, I know it's because, especially on the Kim Collins Highway, the vegetation up in that area is not that high or thick as it used to be before. While we still get some fires, as recent as last week, we had a fire just outside of 7 Day. And I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks prior to that, they had to finish school early because we had a fire in that area again. And so persons, those are not random fires. Those are not spontaneous fires because of heat. Persons are lighting those fires. Persons are intentionally lighting those fires. We had one down at the Newtown Playfield, and then we had one just above that, and then we had one just above that. So these are persons who are just lighting these fires for some unknown reason. Yeah, but like I said, we hoping to use ZIZ and these shows to spread the news. It's easier, because having to go out into the areas, while we have done it before, it takes put some strain on the resources. Last year, during our year of activities, that's one of the things we did a lot of, we focused on. At afternoons, we took the trucks, we went into the communities, we walked the streets, we gave out handouts, we spoke to the residents, and we informed them about the importance of fires and having systems in place to protect your properties and so forth. And so that is something that we intend to continue, and we call that district patrol. Police would do their patrols. We do our patrols. We just drive through the district, looking for anything that might cause or might contribute to fires. We speak to the people. We have not started that again this year, so I don't want anybody to say, well, what he's saying, I never seen nobody come. We have not started as yet. So we hope to start again, and it's supposed to be something continuous so that the fire department is seen and so that the fire department is felt, not just you hear we want to see a big wood truck pass and that's it for you. We want you to know who the fire people are, right? Young, very, very young people, very young people. Yeah, so that's where we're at for at this point. Yeah.
Well, talking about at this point, this is where we're going to wrap up our conversation at this point. So I'm going to give you the final word. And thanks for being here this morning, by the way.
Yes, and I want to thank you for those questions. Quite interesting, especially where you would have mentioned about the way we look at figures, not just see numbers, but to see a story to the numbers. And that definitely is something that whenever we come with numbers, we come with a story, make it quite interesting. But one of the things I want to reinforce is that fire department, one of the things we are moving away from, because we are still getting reports of persons being affected by smoke. Fire department, so that you don't think we do that, so that you know not to come. We do not give permission to burn fires in residential areas. We do not do that. So I don't want to sound harsh, but I'm saying don't come because it will be denied. We do not and will not allow burning in residential areas. We have a lot of persons who has respiratory issues. Your very neighbor, you don't even know.
What are your options outside of burning?
Solid waste. Take your garbage to the landfill. It is very cheap and there's a lot of space. When you burn in the yard, you don't know what the products of combustion are. You don't know what the content of smoke is. It's deadly, it's toxic. And I was taught anything that burns is toxic. That is what I was taught. And so I hold fast to that, and I encourage persons to stay away from lighting fires. Even persons who have farms, who think their farm is far away from persons, smoke travels. And as long as your farm or the smoke that is emitted from that burning is going to reach any residential area, we're not going to allow you to burn. And then it also becomes a health issue, but that is for health to deal with. So again, GQ, I want to thank you for again allowing us to be here on the show this morning to spread some more advice and information as it relates to fire. We look forward to a productive 2026, and we do hope that these shows will continue to be a catalyst for the decline of the reduction in the lot of fires that we have experienced. So I'm hoping that 2026 will be much better than 2025. Yeah.
Thank you for being here once again.
Yes, thank you, GQ.
And thank you for listening wherever you are, whoever you are. Keep it locked. Coming up at 10:30, we have Bulletin Board. And then right after Bulletin Board, we're going to be taking a look at Taste of the Town.
Get ready to ignite your mornings with Fire Talk. Tune in every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM for 15 minutes of blazing hot conversations featuring Robert Williams and Timothy Martin. They'll be discussing the latest fire updates, trends, and topics that matter to you. Don't miss out on the heat. Fire Talk every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM.
At At The Cable, we believe in giving back because when our community